Welcome to Murder Mondays, where we provide comprehensive case overviews in a bite-sized, digestible format. Tonight we take a look at Israel Keyes, the methodical, well-traveled killer who has been called the most meticulous serial killer of the 21st century. Are all of Keyes' victims known, or how many more are out there? We'll explore that on tonight's Murder Mondays, Israel Keyes. Israel Keyes was born on January 7, 1978, in Richmond, Utah, to Mormon parents who homeschooled their children. When he was 12, the family moved to Stevens County, Colville, Washington, and attended the Ark, a Christian identity church known for its racist and anti-Semitic views. Here he met the Kehoe brothers, Chevy and Shane, who were also his neighbors and whose father was planning for a race war. The Kehoe brothers knew all about guns and were likely influential in the skills Keyes would pick up, as by age 14 he was already creating pipe bombs, which he used to blow a lock off a Forest Service gate on government grounds. Keyes would continue his criminal career with burglaries and home invasions, progressing to rape sometime between 1996 and 1998, when he was between 18 and 20 years old, when he led a girl away from her friends, raping and planning to kill her, but ultimately deciding to spare her life. He served in the U.S. Army from 1998 to 2001 at Fort Lewis, Fort Hood, and in Egypt. Records indicate Keyes received an Army Achievement Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Marksman Badge with Rifle Bar, Expert Infantryman Badge, and Air Assault Badge. He was released in 2001 and would begin his murderous reign just a few years later, traveling many times throughout almost every region of the United States starting in 2004, looking for victims and setting up buried kill kits with money, weapons, and tools needed to kill and dispose of his victims' bodies. It was this practice, along with his intense planning of his crimes, that have led to him being called the most meticulous serial killer of the 21st century. In 2007, Keyes would relocate to Alaska and would start Keyes Construction, using this as his base to fly out across the country and locate his victims. Keyes is unique in that he did not have a victim profile. He always killed far from home and never in the same area twice. Although owning a construction business, this would not be the money he used to finance his kill trips and stash with his murder kits. Instead, he used money he had obtained from several bank robberies he committed from 2001 to 2012, on top of 20 to 30 home burglaries. Keyes' usual method would be to fly to some area of the country, rent a vehicle, and drive sometimes hundreds of miles to find victims, looking for them in remote areas like parks, campgrounds, walking trails, or boating areas. If he was targeting a home, he looked for a house with an attached garage, no car in the driveway, and no children or dogs. After committing the murder, he would leave the geographic area immediately. He has admitted to killing 4 people in Washington, claims which are still being investigated, 1 in New York State and another in New Jersey. Sometime in 2007, Keyes stashed a kill kit in Essex, Vermont, near the home of Bill and Lorraine Currier. 2 years later, on June 8th of 2009, he would return to the area and break into the Currier's home, tie them up, kidnap them, and drive them to an abandoned farmhouse where he shot Bill and then sexually assaulted and strangled Lorraine. The Currier's bodies have never been found. After disposing of them, Keyes moved his Vermont kill kit down to Parrishville, New York, in anticipation of his next victim. But in February of 2012, Keyes broke one of his own rules and made a major mistake. After spending nearly a decade making sure to commit his crimes away from home, he kidnapped and killed local 18-year-old Samantha Koenig while she was working her job as a barista at an Anchorage coffee stand. Her kidnapping was caught on camera and triggered a massive search. Keyes took Samantha back to his shed at his Anchorage home, sexually assaulted her, and strangled her to death. He then immediately left the area and went on a 2-week cruise, leaving her body laying there in his shed, while he partied with his family in the Gulf of Mexico. When he returned home from the cruise, he posed her body so as to look like she was still alive and snapped a picture of her in a 4-day-old issue of the Anchorage Daily News, demanding $30,000 in ransom. But he would make his second mistake a month later, continually using Samantha's credit card as he traveled across the southwest of the United States, first in New Mexico, then in Arizona, and finally in Lufkin, Texas, on the morning of March 13, 2012, where he was arrested by Texas Highway Patrol in the parking lot of the Cotton Patch Cafe. Keyes was extradited back to Alaska and confessed to Koenig's murder as well as the others. Israel Keyes was unique in how methodical he operated, not having a victim profile, never committing crimes in the same area, keeping his mobile phone turned off during his murder trips, and always paying with cash during them. He also had no connection to any of his victims. He idolized another methodical serial killer, Ted Bundy, as well as Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber who was also a white supremacist and was heavily rumored to have been involved with Keyes' buddies, the Keyhoes. While he's known to have committed 8 murders, it's suspected the total may be high as 11. His kill kits have been found in Alaska and New York, but he has admitted to having others in Washington, Wyoming, Texas, and possibly Arizona. The FBI has released a timeline of Keyes' 35 trips across the country from 2004 to 2012 in hopes that the public and law enforcement officials can match up bank robberies, disappearances, and unsolved murders to when he was in the area. But this may prove difficult, however, since as previously mentioned he would travel long distances many times to find his victims. When he murdered the Curriers, he flew to Chicago and then drove 1,000 miles to their Vermont home, so the possibilities of his kills seem to be virtually endless. He has even been suspected by some in the disappearance of Maura Murray, though many dispute the claims he could have been in the area at that time. Keyes referenced admiration for how McVeigh handled his appeal process and was put to death quickly, and said he wanted the same for himself. But when his legal process wasn't working out quite as quickly as he had hoped, he slit his wrists and strangled himself with a rolled-up bedsheet, being found dead in his cell with a blood-soaked 4-page ode to murder written underneath himself. The FBI analyzed the manifesto for any clues, hidden meanings, or leads in cases but could find none. In the end, they came up with the chilling motive for Israel Keyes' murders. He simply liked to kill. This has been Murder Mondays, and I'll see you next time.